Welcome to the Multimedia Garage. My name is Robert Haas, and I want to introduce you to my partner. This is Greg Beebe, and today we're bringing us a operational build of an American Autowire system. We're going to be using the 500423 kit, which is made for the 5556 Chevrolet, which we happen to have behind us. And it is a very simple install if you follow the instructions. The instructions come, very important here, start here. And this piece of paper ends up getting pretty tattered by the time you get through all these packages, because each one has their own instructions. So if you have access to a laminator, we recommend that you laminate this little page here, because this is the Bible. It's going to tell you what step you're going to do next. On the back of this is a 4-page schematic. Very handy. So we reprinted that and we tape it down so that it allows us to check on where things go and what they do. The color coordinated is accurate. All American Autowire systems label every wire, and the color that is on the package is the same that's on that, so that you can do it the old school way of checking colors, or you can get out your reading glasses and you can read this stuff. It's written really small. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this. It tells us to start with this package here, which is the main harness. It has the fuse box in it, and what you do with this is you open it. It actually has the hardware to mount the fuse box. It has a mounting plate so that it will use the stock factory location, and you don't have to drill any holes in the vehicle, which is very, very nice. And so we will pick up there, and you'll see that happen. Thank you. Hi, welcome back. So before we get started, we are going to show you a few of the tools that are going to make this job easy for us to do. Some of them are not necessary for the do-it-yourselfer, but they do help. Of course, you're going to want to have a good pair of wire cutters. We use different types of stripping tools here. The automatics are fine. I got no problem using them. However, I do prefer to use a commercial wire stripper. These are from Snap-on, and they're quite good. The crimps that are used are going to require a very specific type of crimping tool, and that's what this here is. Now, American Autowire offers two very good crimping tools that I think is well worth the money. We do not own that tool, but we will obviously get by without it. So we'll demonstrate that. So you're going to need the crimping. A multimeter and a test light is something that will be handy to bring into play later on. And a power probe is the greatest tool on earth when you're doing a full system like this, because I can actually bring 12 volt onto any circuit that we're working on to do circuit tests as we go. It also allows us to roll up and down power windows, which are in the way, and we couldn't do it with the whole car completely gutted. So this is it. You're going to use a lot of zip ties when you do this. You're going to be throwing away a lot of zip ties, because we use these to hold things in place, and then we cut them back off later. So have a full bag of zip ties. And a zip tie tool is a fantastic piece of hardware. Greg, what do they call this thing? What's the name of this tool?
Zip tie tool.
Zip tie tool. But it sure makes the job easier. Yeah, as advertised. Okay, we'll be back with you in a little bit.
So this is part of stage 1 on what are we doing?
Getting ready to put in the main harness.
Okay.
The masking tape is to protect the
Tape.
car, because he's going to be pulling all the wires out through that hole right now.
Good idea.
that you're heating, pull that back towards the front of the car. Maybe back towards the door here. There you go.
For your vent.
Cool. Bolts. You have the nuts and washers and wrench, right?
Yep. So we've got the fuse box mounted. As you can see that the bolts that attach it to the plate are upper right hand corner, lower left hand corner. This back nut here is difficult to get to, so make sure that you have the right tools. And now that our fuse box is locked in place, we're ready to start routing the wiring.
Okay, so you're going to be using the lower hinge bolt to actually mount the fuse box, and that is kind of a technical thing. So we are putting a new hinge in, so it's not an existing. So what you have to do is you have to run the bolt through. There's a nut that you're going to bring up against the firewall. Then you want to take a full turn back away from the firewall so that's loose. Tighten the two nuts locked together. This is tight, but it allows us to loosen it and be able to move this. It's very important that you don't tighten that nut against the inner weld nut, or you will not be able to break this loose and you will not be able to make a hood adjustment. So that's not in the instructions, but it's an important thing to know. Let's talk a little bit about the control of your wiring as you're doing it, and some tools and items that you should purchase to assist with this. And you can purchase this through American Autowire. They do sell different types of wire looming and such. We prefer to use some of this type of material here. We have it both in a clear and in a black. The reason that we like this is that we can put it on and then take it back off multiple times. It's real simple to work with. You can grab a bunch of wire, throw a few loops around it, and it'll hold it there so that you can help with your routing. You'll change your mind on things will get in the way, or you need to go back in and work on your car. Any of that makes it difficult to work with this type of stuff, this split sheathing where you're trying to stuff a bunch of wires into it. It just doesn't really, it's not conducive to happy working. So we have found that using this type of stuff is really good for anything that is going to be serviceable. When you are in the process of getting this stuff in place, one thing that you really want to make sure is that your plugs are slack where they plug into one another. If you have a condition where you have a wire that's tight like that and some that are loose, what's going to happen is, from just use, the ones that are tight are going to find a way to unplug themselves. They're going to work themselves out of their crimp, or they're just going to. So you definitely always want to make sure that if you touch your wires, they flex. Always want to have flex. You never want to find a stiff, hard pull anywhere in your system. So adjust accordingly. Most people that build these systems, they do not give enough slack. Okay. You can always do this too in your system. If you find that you have a wire that's just too long, there's nothing wrong with putting a loop in a wire, just like that. See that? That'll fit inside the loom. It'll disappear, and it's gone, even though it's that much too long. Okay. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You usually have lots of room in here once you get this stuff figured out. On our build, we are not using the stock 1955 instrument panel, nor are we using the stock 55 speaker cover where the clock was. We have replaced them. This is a dash from Classic Instruments. It is a complete electronic. Everything on this thing is electronic, even though it looks analog. And you are going to use the Classic. Has given us a very nice schematic, and they've worked together with all the wiring companies, and the stuff that you're going to get with this kit is actually correctly color coded. The classic industries have used the exact same coloring for all their wiring. So there's 14 wires that are going to be in this, that are going to hook up to control everything from the speedometer to the fuel gauge, oil pressure, etc., and even their turn signal indicators and dash light, which works in conjunction with the loom. That the main light switch, which has a dimmer in it, all that works through this harness, and it plugs in and converts 14 wires into these 3 plugs. Okay, and that really is all I had to tell you about this. We are going to close this video, and the next video is going to give you a basic shot on how the engine compartment is done, how we run the wires to power the system itself. We've relocated the battery. Some people have asked us about that, so we're going to show you that as well. There's several things in the next video that will be very useful for the people with modified cars that we didn't touch on this video. So thanks for seeing us, and we'll see you next time.